Hello, everyone. I released a podcast that is related to the storms, and I shared my press report in the midst of storms, right? And I've been led to share how to deal with storms. So that will be really practical for you guys if you're in that stormy season as well. Number one is practice gratitude. I know it's easier said than done, but we as sons and daughters of God and Christians, we know what is God's promises, right? So go back to the Bible and proclaim that gratitude. So for example, I declare I'm more than conquerors through Christ who gives me strength. And although I am weak, I am strong because it is written in the Bible, right? Because when God is with us, God's presence equals power because God gives us authority and power. So we need to proclaim that gratitude and God's promises verbally. First step is we need to genuinely and really think that that is true. Second of all, we need to proclaim and we need to declare that verbally because God's words, which is God, has power and authority. The enemies doesn't have authority. He only has power to manipulate us in a subtle, sneaky way, but he doesn't have any authority over our life. So we have the liberty to proclaim that I'm more than a conquerors. I'm the winner. Victory is us because Jesus overcame the world. And we proclaim that gratitude verbally. So that is number one. Number two is we need to ask God, what are you trying to teach me in this stormy season? God, what should I learn from this? What are you trying to teach me? Ask God, and also that requires your reflection and life audit. There may be some area that God is not really pleased by our behaviors or by our heart, by our actions. So I've researched and I've listened to a lot of YouTubes from pastors that is related to those stormy seasons. And I've learned that there are some areas of my life that didn't really please God because that was not according to God's principles. So, for example, let's say, for example, let's say pleasure or self-indulgence. And if you're trying to relying on something that is outside of God, there's always side effects. For example, in my case was, let's say, comfort food, or let's say impromptu unplanned spendings. Oh, I want activewear, or like I want this and that, and that gives you pleasure, instant gratification, or self-indulgence, or pleasure and pleasure. Anything that is not related to biblical principles that has side effects, and that is what I mean by outside of God. And when I reflected on those more of impromptu behaviors and choices, God made me realize that those are the area that displeases God. And of course, what we need to do when we figure out, let's say this is just my example, right? Do the life audit and ask God, what are you trying to teach me? And when I asked the question to God, I actively searched those related stormy seasons. And what I've came to realize was, number one, like I've just mentioned, ask God, what are you trying to teach me? And number two, God will teach you what were the areas that displeases God. And the next step is, of course, you need to repent. Obviously, God, I was not pleasing you because of these reasons, and renew my mind and habits and remove all of those things that I really rely on. So that is apart from God. Because at the end of the day, it was because of those reliant behaviors. And you try to fulfill those areas apart from God, which caused side effects. So back to the step-by-step process. Ask God, number one. Number two, do the life audit and deeply think what caused these storms. Number three, when God give you that analysis and the reason why, you would find the areas that you try to find comfort from apart from God. Then number four, repent. See the pattern, acknowledge the pattern, and repent. God, I knew and I've came to realize that I did these things to comfort me and try to fulfill me and renew my heart and give me new habits. And number five is act now, not tomorrow, act now. And these are the steps that I wanted to share with you and simplify it because that will be really practical for you. And so, number one, practice gratitude and proclaim what is written in the Bible. I'm more than a conquerors. Also, I am strong because I am weak because God is with me, right? And verbally proclaim that. And also, you need to also 100% wholeheartedly believe and trust that is what you really meant. So when you proclaim that, your heart should be 100% aligned with God's words, which is the truth. Number two, recap number two, ask God, what are you trying to teach me? What did I do wrong? And what displeases you, God? And do your research, try to figure out what went wrong and the areas that you think that you need to work on through pastors, through YouTube lectures, so that you can find the solution and problem and solutions and act upon it right away, not tomorrow, but today, and have that game plan. So I've realized this, so I will, and also repent, right? Repent sincerely and seek God's grace and favor so that you don't repeat the same mistakes over and over again, and go from there. I hope this episode reaches people who needs to hear this and really, yeah, and trust God will use this episode to reach people who needs to really hear this and put it into action. And I am so grateful that God uses my tongue in my life to influence and impact on the people that are in need of. And if this was helpful and informative, share this episode with your friends, with your neighbors, so that you can be that blessing to that neighbors as well. And thank you for checking this episode out, and God bless you.